Bloodfather, which is the new film starring, but not directed by, Mel Gibson. Which falls under the auspices of what is now being referred to as the Jerry action genre. This is the oldies get to do action stuff. Or Wendy Ide, who's a colleague, used the word dadsploitation, which is
that's good.
I'm not sure whether she coined that or whether it's something I hadn't heard it before, but I think dadsploitation is the most brilliant word. It would be very easy to dismiss this as just another take and knock off, a film about a father whose daughter is imperiled and therefore he has to go and beat a whole bunch of people up in order to save her. But I thought it was much more than that. Adapted by Peter Craig from his novel and directed by Jean-François Richet, who made the Marine movies. Do you remember them? They were sort of 70s. There was two of them, Marine Part 1 and 2.
No, I don't.
Okay, they were very good. And also the remake of Assault on Precinct 13. So the story is, at the beginning, Mel Gibson's character, Link, is separated from his daughter. His marriage ended. She was living with her mother, but he's lost track of his daughter. He is living in the most unbelievably trashy trailer and wrestling with alcoholism. So he's now a recovered alcoholic, and he thinks his whole life has fallen apart because he appears to have ruined everything, not least his relationship with his daughter. Little does he know that his daughter, who is a sort of tearaway, runaway Lydia, played by Erin Moriarty, has got herself into all manner of bad trouble. And any minute now, the phone is going to ring with a "Dad, I need your help" phone call. Here's him at a meeting.
For those who don't know me, my name's John Link. Hi, John. And I'm a real success story. Been sober 2 years, one inside the joint and one out here. Before that, I was never clean for very long. Except maybe in the womb, but knowing Mom, I was probably pickled there too. I did a lot of damage. Lost a lot of people along the way. Some of them stay lost. It's not like they come back and give you an attaboy for quitting, I got a kid I can't find, except on a milk carton. Ex that won't talk to me. Every skill I ever had, every friend I ever knew is now a parole violation. But you can't be a all your life and then just say never mind. I can't fix everything I broke. All I can do is not drink. So I won't do that today. Just like when I was in the joint all that time. Just count off every day until I die.
So it's impossible to hear that kind of speech without thinking, it's Mel Gibson talking in character, but obviously there are echoes of some traumas that Mel Gibson himself has previously. There was a thing recently because he's got this new movie, Hacksaw Ridge, which is receiving sort of very good reviews, and he was interviewed in Venice, and he talked about after he needed a designated talker, which I thought was quite a good thing to have observed. I mean, the fact of the matter is that Gibson got himself into such a terrible place and said such stupid things that he sort of became a complete exile in Hollywood. And there was a long period in which, there was a question of whether he would ever come back from that. And the question of his rehabilitation is still, I think, open-ended. But as somebody who's a huge fan of Apocalypto, which he directed, which was a really, really interesting, really good film, I am looking forward to Hacksaw Ridge. In the case of this, I thought it was a really good exploitation B-movie that managed to raise itself above the cliches of the genre by pretty much understanding what it was, which was an exploitation B-movie. If you're going to have somebody playing the wounded bear, run down, dad living in a trashy trailer who has to pull himself together because his daughter, who he hasn't seen for ages, has got herself into bad trouble with really bad people, and that is going to require them to jump into a very knackered car and then go places where Mel is going to have to get involved in action, shooting and hitting. He's the guy. I mean, he does have a charismatic screen presence. He looks, burly, but also broken. He has that crazed eye thing that he always had. There are few people who have that on-screen, slightly the thing that saw him through Mad Max, the thing that saw him through those Lethal Weapon movies. Although I have to say, I think he's easier to like now in the sort of later part of his career when so much of that has broken and fallen away, and he does look damaged. It's directed with, pacey aplomb. It's got crunchy action when it needs crunchy action. I was just looking up the BBFC description, which is always kind of the thing which tells you exactly what is in a movie. So it says, Bloodfather, an action thriller about a father who must protect his estranged daughter from drug dealers who want to kill her. That is pretty much the plot. Language, frequent use of strong language, several shootings and stabbings and fight scenes, including, blah, 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 and then drugs. So it's an exploitation movie that understands that in order to do this properly, you have to have, to some extent, a tongue-in-cheek sort of sense of humour. There's a little bit of a sort of 70s throwback to it, which isn't entirely surprising when you consider the previous movies that the director has made. Gibson, oddly enough, because of his own past, is somebody who's completely correctly cast in that role. His daughter is infuriating when you first meet her, which is actually quite a good way to play it, because it means that you are every bit as conflicted about her and the situation that she's got herself into as Mel's character is meant to be. It would be a very different film if she was just somebody who was, immediately lovable. And I thought it was a good, stripped-down, nuts and bolts B picture that happens to star somebody who at various points in his career has been an A-lister.
And what's it called again?
It's called Bloodfather, which is kind of, in a way, the title says it all. I mean, it was really interesting because as I went into the screening and I sat down behind Pete Bradshaw from The Guardian and I said, right, I want senseless violence. And he said, I think you're probably going to get it. and actually, we both got, I got was more than I had expected.